Good afternoon to Ms. Kairunisa. We are DIM students and today we are going to do our research proposal titled Human Resource Management Effectiveness of Performance Appraisal Methods on Employee Motivation. So firstly, before we start, this is our teammates. Next, our agenda. So firstly is introduction overview followed by problem statement, research objectives, literature reviews, article summarization, theory frameworks, research frameworks, and also conclusion. So firstly, I'm going to be starting with introduction overview, which examines how performance appraisal methods influence employee motivation. It also shows effective appraisal can motivate employees through fair evaluation, clear expectations, and continuous feedback, while fair and transparent systems can enhance motivation, while biased appraisals reduce commitment. It also highlights performance appraisals as a key driver of motivation and long-term organizational success.
Hello, my name is Diane Teras and I took Diploma in Management. So in this slide, I'm going to present our research, which is Human Resource Management, Effectiveness of Performance Appraisal Methods on Employee Motivation, Problem Statement. So according to book wrote by Egunis 2019, performance appraisal methods are poorly designed or poorly implemented can cause dissatisfaction among employees. Supported by other source, which is Tennessee and Smith 2014, mentioned that lack clear criteria, consistent standards, and transparent processes may confuse employees and create negative perception of fairness. Another journal by Jawahar 2007 also stated that a delayed feedback or overly focus on weaknesses, employees may feel unrecognized and undervalued, which reduces their motivation. Not only that, our study is further supported by Folger and Cropanzano 1998, Egunis 2019 book that argued how bias and favoritism in evaluation can cause weaken trust in the appraisal system and lower employees' commitment to both their work and organization.
For number 5, written by Pitchler in 2012, it states that ineffective appraisal practices can reduce productivity, weaker work quality, and a lower willingness to take initiative. Next, by Nurul Hafiza Muhammadin and Arifah Muhammad, written in 2022, it states that poorly structured performance appraisal systems with unclear criteria can confuse employees about how their performance is evaluated, leading to reduced motivation and engagement. Followed by the same article, it also states that the lack of consistent appraisal schedules and regular feedback weakens employees' sense of achievement and purpose, negatively affecting their commitment to the organization. The last article we used is by Dr. Valuvan. There's a lot of names, I couldn't write them all here. So it states that when performance appraisals feedback is unclear or insufficient, employees may feel unrecognized and undervalued, leading to a lower motivation and reduced job satisfaction. That's all from me. Next.
Moving on to the next slide, which is research objective. The objective of our study are 1. To identify the appraisal methods commonly used in organization. 2. Assess how these methods influence employee motivation and performance. And 3. Explore the challenges employees encounter with current appraisal system. Next is our research also aim to answer questions like what appraisal methods are used, how these methods affect employee motivation, engagement, and productivity, and lastly, what challenges employees face with the current appraisal processes. As for the scope of study, we aim to examine various appraisal methods and the impact on employee motivation, engagement, and job satisfaction, which identifying challenges such as unclear criteria, inconsistent feedback, and perceived bias. In conclusion, this study shows that performance appraisal system are strategic tools that influence employee motivation and organizational performance, impacing that the need for fair, transparent, and development-focused practices. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening. I am Najat Shasha binti Nordin, a diploma in management student, and I will be presenting my article reviews for Article 1, 2, and 5. First and foremost, in Article 1, the author said that the performance appraisal plays a vital role in HR decisions. Not only that, a well-structured appraisal processes could also help identify employee strengths and create new areas for improvement. Based on what Mr. Brown said, performance appraisals can also influence employee motivation and retention because it is human nature to feel more productive after being appreciated and recognized. Allen and Griffin also said that employees who receive positive feedback and feel recognized are less likely to leave the organization, which means lower turnover rates. And now, moving on to Article 2, Bleskova and Grazulis argue that highly motivated employees tend to take on greater responsibility, work more efficiently, and demonstrate higher levels of creativity. Not only that, Gertrude and Survibon note that a lack of motivation can lead to reduced employee performance, which is because if someone don't have the motivation, they will feel like they don't want to do anything and just slack off at work because their work are not even being recognized. However, in this article, the author shows that Maslow's hierarchy of needs provides a useful framework for understanding motivation. Not only that, research conducted in Bosnia and Herzegovina revealed that low levels of motivation is also stemming from weak human resources management practices. It stems from weak human resources management practices. And lastly, intrinsic and extrinsic rewards actually positively influence employee performance. Intrinsic is non-monetary value, such as praises. Meanwhile, extrinsic has monetary value, such as giving cash bonuses.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Ms. Karunisa. I'm Nushaira binti Sahwi from JIM student and will be presenting about the literature review. Next is Article 3, which is Performance Appraisal Systems and Job Satisfaction Among Nurses in Al-Dakhiliya Governorate in Oman, which is preliminary findings. So, in this article, the performance appraisal and job satisfactions are crucial for employee motivations and also organization performance. Effective appraisal systems provide constructive feedback and support professionalism development. So, the study among the nurses in Al-Dakhiliya Governorate, which is in Oman, show improvements and motivations towards the performance after the appraisals. So, about 68% of nurses reported with a higher job satisfactions following performance appraisal. So, it is fair and transparent appraisal systems increase trust, reduce stress, and also improve the organizational loyalty. For Article 4, we have the effect of human resource development practice on employee performance with the mediating role of job satisfaction among Mizan Tepi University's academic staff in the southwestern Ethiopia. So the HRD, which is known as Human Resource Development Practices and Job Satisfactions, plays an important role in improving academic staff performance. HRD practices such as training, teamwork, counseling, career development, and also succession plannings enhance their skills, motivations, and also engagement. So the training and collaborations support their knowledge, sharing, and also effective performance in their academic environments. So the job satisfactions acts as the mediator between the HRD practices and employee performance. So when the academic staff feel supported and valued, they show their higher commitment and also their better teaching qualities, which is to improve their research output.
And now, I'm going to do a literature review for Article 5. In this research, the performance appraisal system is adopted from the theory of Robbins and Timothy, 2008. And the performance appraisal is divided into two, which are 360 degrees appraisal system and performance appraisal of key performance indicator, which is, in this context, is individual KPI. Not only that, the PLS analysis revealed a significant positive relationship between performance appraisal system and job motivation, which have a coefficient value of 0.330 and also P equals to 0.001 and 0.206, P equals to 0.23. However, the result shows that the employees are not directly affected by the perceived quality of the performance appraisal system because the PLS show a coefficient value of 0.088 and P equals to 0.168. How to read these values? If the coefficient value is higher than the value of P, it means it is positive. But if the coefficient value is lower than the value of P, it means it is negative. Lastly, here are three key drivers of a company's performance, which are employees' performance, employees' job satisfaction, and also employees' motivation. And now, I'm going to present the other resources reliable informations for Article 1 and Article 2. So, for Article 1, it is said that HR decision making cannot be overstated as they played a significant role in decisions. This statement is from a journal named Herman Aguinis Performance Management, 2013. And also, performance appraisal is a core component that aligns individual performance with organizational goals, which is why performance appraisal is very important for employees and also the organization itself. And now for Article 2, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a foundational motivational theory in psychology, which was first articulated in his 1943 paper called A Theory of Human Motivation. In this paper, it is said that human needs are organized into a hierarchical structure, which at the below, which is the most needed, and the upper one is the less needed of an individual. And also, hierarchy is commonly represented as a pyramid with 5 levels. In the pyramid, there are 5 levels, which are at the most bottom level is physiological needs, which means water, air, food for the body. And the second level is safety needs, which means security. And the third level is love and belonging, like relationships with family. And the fourth one is esteem, which means their confidence, their individual confidence. And lastly is self-actualization, which means the individual know what they are capable of and what they need to improve of themselves. And those are the 5 levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid.
Next, we have the Article 3 about the other resources with reliable information. So the study used a descriptive cross-sectional design where it involved 309 nurses from the government's healthcare institution in Oman. Nurses were selected using the stratified random samplings, and the data were collected through a self-administered questionnaire. The data were analyzed using the SPSS. As for the Article 4, they were focused on the HRD practices and academic staff performance at the Mizan Tepi University, Ethiopia. It is highlighted the lack of the empirical studies on HRD in the state universities, and it also found that the HRD practices positively affect the employee performance. And the job satisfaction acts as the key mediator, enhancing the HRD impacts on the performance. Lastly, the training, development, and also the teamworks are central to improving the academic staff performance. As for the Article 5, the data were collected using the structured questionnaire with the scale 1 to 5. It is measure performance appraisals, job satisfactions, motivations, and also the employee performance. The data were analyzed using the regression analysis and structure equations modeling. The results show clear relationship between the performance appraisal, job satisfaction, motivations, and also the employee performance.
And now I'm going to do an article summarization for Article 1 and Article 2. So, firstly, for Article 1, the article examines the problem of whether performance appraisal systems effectively enhance employee motivation and contribute to the organizational success or not. And also, in the article, is fairly implemented performance appraisal systems positively influence employee motivation, so it indeed affects the employee's motivation. And also, if the performance appraisal system is poorly implemented, it can lead to employee dissatisfaction and reduced motivation. And for Article 2, this article addresses the research problems of understanding whether performance evaluation systems, particularly appraisal rewards, actually effectively motivate and engage employees or not. And also, both intrinsic and extrinsic rewards that are linked to performance appraisal systems actually affected the employees, because any sort of recognition or appreciation can lead to positive impact towards the employee and also the productivity of the employee in the organization.
As for the article summary for the Article 3, the study explores on how performance appraisal affect the nurses' job satisfaction in Oman. So most nurses saw appraisal as the performance checks, not as for their promotion or rewards. So despite this, nurses reported positive outcomes from the appraisals. So appraisal improve the job performance, motivations, career goals, and also provide constructive feedback. So overall, a good performance appraisal systems enhance the job satisfaction. However, further improvements in the appraisal process are needed. As for the Article 4 summary, it explores how the HRD practices affect academic staff performance with the job satisfaction as the mediator. So the HRD programs includes training, teamwork, career development, counseling, and also progression planning, where a good HRD practices increase the job satisfaction. So the higher job satisfaction leads to a better employee performance. So to conclude that strong HRD systems are essential for improving performance in higher educational institutions. For the Article 5, which is the influence of which is to investigate the impact of the performance appraisals on job satisfactions, motivations, and also employee performance. These studies were used by 140 employees and partial least squares, which is known as PLS analysis, where the performance appraisals improve the job satisfactions and motivations, but not directly affect their performance. So the job satisfactions boost motivations, and the motivation significantly improve their performance. So job satisfaction alone does not directly increase their performance.
And now I'm going to present the theory frameworks for each article 1, article 2, and article 5. For article 1, it is shown that this article is conceptually based on HRM practices, which means in this article they does not collect or analyze primary empirical data. There are no numbers, and it only systematically reviews and integrates established HRM literature to make it more understanding about the effective of performance appraisal towards employees. For Article 2, however, it is theoretically based on HRM theories because it is grounded in established motivation and performance theories such as Maslow's hierarchy. In this article, it focuses mostly on Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, which is a theory, and it needs to build. It is to build a structured understanding of how motivation influences employee performance. And lastly, for Article 5, in this article, it is empirical based theory on PT Pupuk Kaltim response on HRM practices. In this article, the research is based on the collection and analysis of primary data to make a hypothesis. There are numbers included and the number of responses. The study gathers quantitative data from 140 employees of PT Pupuk Kaltim and applies statistical analysis using partial least square and a shortened name of PLS. And the number received are then being analyzed to gain the answer they needed.
As for the theoretic framework for the Article 3, these studies did not use a specific theoretical framework, where it was based on literature in human resource management and organizational behavior. So it focused on the nurses' perceptions of performance appraisal and their effect on the job satisfactions, motivations, and also their performance. So the research was empirically and practically rather than theory-driven. Although no formal theory was used, the findings align with the motivational and also the performance perspective in the HR.
Effective appraisal systems are seen as the key tools to improve employee satisfaction and workplace performance. As for the Article 4, the Hellions 2004 study explores how HRD practices affect the academic staff performance at Mizan Tepi University. Job satisfaction was examined as the mediator in these relationships, and there is no formal theory as explicitly stated. But the study aligned conceptually with the HRM principles similar to the social exchange theory. HRD practices studies include trainings and development, teamwork, career development, counseling, and also the succession planning. These practices positively impact the performance partly through the increased job satisfaction. In this article, they highlights the importance of the effective HRD systems to enhance the staff performance in the higher education. That's all for me. Thank you.
Good morning to our lecturer, Ms. Kairunisa, and my fellow friends. So now moving on to the research frameworks, which is there are two, independent variable and dependent variable, which is the first one is independent variable. The first one is performance appraisal on employees, which is this refers to how organization evaluate employee performance and provide feedbacks. A fair and clear appraisal, which is the system helps employee to understand what is expected for them. So moving on for the dependent variables. So for the first one is employee motivations, which is employee motivation represent the level of efforts, which is the commitment and enthusiasm employees have toward their work, which is the performance appraisal system directly influence how motivated employees feel at work. So for the second one is quality of work input, which is when employees are motivated, they are more focused, which is more careful and committed, which is it can lead to better work quality and productivity. So for the last one is for the goal achievements, which is employee motivations also have effects on goal achievements because it's more determined better at managing their time and more aligned with the organization's objective, which is help both individual and organizational
goals to be achieved successfully.
Hello everyone, my name is Rai Hidayat. I'm a diploma and management student and I'm here to present about my part in research approach subject, which is the method used in previous studies. The first method that we will be looking at is the first article from 2024, which is the effectiveness of performance appraisal methods on employee motivation. The research approach that was used in this paper was quantitative research studies with the data collection of survey questionnaires and Likert scale questions. And the type of data that was used in this article was primary data from employees and academic staff, and also the usage of secondary data from journal articles. The data analysis techniques that was used in this article was descriptive statistics, regression analysis, t-test, and structural equation modeling (SEM). The purpose of the method used is to examine the relationships between a performance appraisal, job satisfaction, motivation, and also employee performance. For the next article, which is the performance evaluation system and employee motivation in 2021, it used the research approach of qualitative and conceptual research. The data collected was the review of existing literature, academic articles, books, and online sources. The type of data that was used are secondary data, and the data analysis technique that was used in this paper was content analysis and theoretical synthesis. The purpose of method is to explore and explain the link between performance evaluation systems and employee motivation through existing theories and prior research findings without collecting any empirical data. For Article 3, Performance Appraisal System and Job Satisfaction, it used the research approach of quantitative, descriptive cross-sectional study. The data collected are self-administered questionnaires distributed by 2 nurses. The type of data is primary data, and the data analysis technique is descriptive statistics, frequencies, percentage, mean scores using SPSS. The purpose of the method is to assess nurses' perception of the performance appraisal system, examine its relationship with job satisfaction and motivational outcomes at a specific point of time.
A very good afternoon. My name is Ebony Amanda Alfred, and I will be presenting method used in a previous study for Article 4 and also Article 5. So let's begin with Article 4. The research approach that they use is a quantitative research study. So the data collections method that were used is a survey questionnaires designed as a 5-point Likert scale questions ranging in between strongly disagree and strongly agree. The data was mostly primary data that were collected from employee and even academic staff. And they also relied on some secondary data from a published journal articles that were inside the article. So moving on, proceeding to the analysis technique. After all of the data were collected, researcher will find a way to analyze the data. For example, descriptive statistics were used to summarize the respondent, while regression analysis, t-test, and structural equation modeling, SEM, were used to examine the relationship between the element and test whether the result was strong enough. So what actually is the purpose of the method? The study aimed to study the impact of performance appraisal, job satisfactions, motivation, and employee performance. The study also aims to identify a common pattern or gaps in how performance appraisal systems are being reviewed across any other organizations. Moving on to Article 5, research approach that they use is same as Article 4, which is quantitative research study, same as data collection, survey questionnaires, and scale questions. As for sample and sampling, there were about 140 respondent employees from PT Pupuk Kaltim. they were being selected using a propositional sampling technique to ensure a fair representations across different employee groups. As for variables that were being studied, IV, known as performance appraisal systems, are being treated as the independent variable, while the DV, job satisfaction, job motivation, and also employee performance are being treated as the dependent variables. The data then were being analyzed using a partial equation modeling known as PLS-SEM. It is to test the relationship between each of the elements. And lastly, the key finding shows that the performance appraisals improve job satisfaction and also job motivation, giving a direct effect on employee performance. However, performance appraisal does not have any direct effects on the employee performance. So in other words, the appraisals works by motivating employees, and motivated employees will perform better.
So moving on to the method used for this study. Our topic focusing on human resource management, effectiveness of performance appraisal methods on employee motivation. So the research approach that we use are qualitative comparative research with the data collected by systematic review of published journal article and academic research papers. The type of data that we use are only secondary data, comparative analysis, thematic synthesis of existing studies, which is the 5 articles. The purpose of the method that we use is to compare and critically analyze existing research on performance appraisal methods and employee motivation in order to identify key patterns, differences, and research gaps between all these 5 articles.
Moving on to the next slide, which is time frame. So the research was conducted over a period of roughly 3 weeks, which begins on 8 December 2025. So after the full report were being released, the instructions, we then move on to activities from chapter 1 till chapter 3, including developing of research framework, review and analysis of 5 academic journal articles, and identifications of research method used in the previous studies. And lastly, data source. Secondary data from academic journal and academic article were being collected and analyzed to support the study objective. So the research report was completed on 26 December 2025, which is this Friday, before the end of week 14. It is to ensure the report was being timely submitted during that time. Thank you.
Lastly, for my part, is the justification of the selection of the research method. We choose to use secondary data approach because it is more appropriate as the research aims to compare findings, methodologies, and conclusions rather than generate new empirical data. The use of peer-reviewed journals and academic articles ensure reliability, credibility, and academic rigor. Secondary data allows comparison of evaluation of performance appraisal practices across different organizational, industrial, and cultural contexts. And this method also enables the identification of inconsistency in the article, limitation, and also research gap that may not be visible in single primary studies. Comparing studies across multiple settings and time periods strengthen analytical depth and generalizability. So that is all from me. Thank you very much.
So moving on to the last slide of research method, which is the mini conclusions. So in conclusion, chapter 3 explained the research methodology and data collections methods that were being used in the studies. The study also adopts a secondary research approach using a peer-reviewed academic journal and also past studies on performance appraisal and employee motivations. So this explains why secondary data were chosen, highlighting their reliability, efficiency, and ability to identify and open gaps. Lastly, the research time frame shows that the study was carried out in a structured way within the given time period. Thank you.
In conclusion, the performance appraisal system are an important part of human, which is the resource management that influence employee motivation and work performance. Just fair and well-structured appraisal methods help employees feel value, understand their performance expectation, and stay motivated to achieve organizational goals. However, the unclear and or biased appraisal system can reduce motivation and job satisfaction. Therefore, organization should treat performance appraisal as a strategic tool to improve employee motivation, work quality, and long-term organizational success. Thank you.